This right here is a $50,000 Rolex, which just so happens to be the same amount of money I made shorting Bitcoin this week. Today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Again, not financial advice, just me, Fous, trading some things and sharing with you guys why I did it, whether I made money or I lost money. Now, I will go out and tell you right now that I completely screwed this trade up, regardless of me making a lot of money on it. I'm about 50K on Bitcoin alone. I should be up like 150K overall. I messed up. And I'll tell you exactly why. Most importantly, as long as I'm making money, that is a good thing. And I want to teach you guys from my mistakes as well as my successes. So let's just get into briefly what was the current situation that we had going on with Bitcoin. If we rewind the clock back to the weeks that I made, the video I made about 2 weeks ago, I discussed the weekly death cross on the Bitcoin chart, which was the first ever weekly death cross in the history of Bitcoin, which nobody seemed to care about or talk about. I actually saw somebody else tweet about it. I was like, huh, that's interesting. It's the first time ever. Let's look into the analysis of how that actually looked. And if we look at the actual chart here, we had the peak up here, and then we ripped right off the lows here back up to the peak again with the weekly death cross triggering just the week before. Or actually now, it probably looked a little bit different before these next 3 weeks played out. But as of right now, that weekly death cross triggered at about February 6th, 2023. So that was an interesting thing to see. It was the first death cross Bitcoin had ever seen in the history of Bitcoin. On top of that, guys, we were highly oversold on FlipX after making a huge run to the upside. And that would be a bearish signal for me looking at the weekly chart after a massive run. So that was, for me, a big signal that we could be running out of steam here on the Bitcoin chart. If we look deeper into the daily chart here, we had that big resistance right about 25K. And we also had a huge bearish divergence. If we look at Momo X here, we had the big oversold highs into the red zone here on Momo X. FlipX was highly oversold. And if we look at what happened next, we saw lows back down to the support level, perfectly bouncing off this level right here. Then a rip to the upside to new highs, but we saw lower highs on FlipX as well as lower highs here on Momo X, which then created a bearish divergence that's indicated here on the chart, which basically just means we're running out of steam. And as soon as we were sitting at here at all-time highs of the year, basically retesting this high right here at about 250 or so, I was sitting here watching this in real time happen. I was like, okay, if we break out over the upside and we come back down and just instantly see a big selling pressure right afterwards, I'm getting short as fuck here on Bitcoin, and we're going to come back all the way down, probably at least to this level here at about 21,467. That's exactly what I did. If we look back here at my chart here, I got short here at 24,982, 22 Bitcoin, which was about $562,000 short at the time. And then instantly, right after that, started coming back down to the downside, which was a nice thing to see because that's what I was trying to accomplish, was what we call a bull trap here, a fake out to the upside. Mostly everyone who was buying the dip down here, a lot of the smart money, as soon as that starts spiking up, locked in their profits. And then what happens, a lot of people start FOMOing in and buying into the actual breakout here. Mostly retail, unexperienced traders go long on leverage, and then eventually, as soon as that flips to the downside, being the fact that they're usually trading at 10 to 50x leverage, they're going to get liquidated fast. Now, there's going to be a lot of profit taken from people that have smart money that bought the dip, and then everyone who FOMOed long is all going to get liquidated and see a big cascading selling to the downside. And that's exactly what happened. Now we've continually seen brand new lows again and again in the current trend right now. Now, the part where I totally screwed up here on Bitcoin was, yes, we saw this big push to the downside. I locked in a lot of my profits after we pushed down into this level, which my account was, looking pretty good. I was like, all right, that was the big move that we're looking for. But now we need to wait and see what happens if we see a bear flag or a potential head and shoulders, of which we did kind of form up here with the left shoulder head and then the right shoulder here. But we saw this bearish flag forming up right here, which eventually did see a massive sell-off here. And we can actually look at what the kind of news that kind of triggered that was. The Silvergate suspends crypto payments network, which was pretty big news thing that came out. And then also you could see there was a very large spot sale on Binance, which then triggered a massive margin cascade, margin call. Basically, a bunch of people who were leveraged long got liquidated. There's also Mr. Whale. Also, over $120 million in Bitcoin longs have been liquidated in a matter of seconds after one mega whale sold on the Binance spot exchange. Brief interruption here, guys. Did you know that 75% of traders have accounts under $25,000? This creates a huge problem because even if you double that account in a year, which is almost impossible, you're still only making $25,000. Introducing Hydra funding, where you can potentially get access up to $500,000 in capital. All you have to do, guys, is sign up for a challenge account, which is going to give you potentially access up to $500,000. And if you earn a 10% profit in this demo account without going into a 5% loss overall or a 4% loss in a day, you will then pass their evaluation phase and, yes, get access to an account with the selected size account. And now, instead of trying to double a $10,000 account, you could potentially earn only 10% on a $100,000 account to earn the same level of profits. And the benefits of this are huge. Rather than risking your entire $10,000 on one account, you can use just $1,000 to potentially get access to $100,000 in capital. You can trade crypto, Forex, stocks, CFTs, gold, oil, everything under the sun, all on MT4 and MT5. If you're interested, if you have an account under $25,000, like 75% of traders out there, you're not going to make any money with that account because it's too small. Get access to pro level funding and pro level capital with Hydra funding. Link's going to be below. So that was kind of what triggered that huge downside move overall. But prior to this actually happening, which was triggered by the Silvergate news, I made a bunch of mistakes that led to me giving back a bunch of gains. And actually, I was up bigger in my account right here than I am right here. I'll show you exactly why. Basically, if we look here, what I was looking at when I added, because I actually added to my position after locking in a bunch of gains on this first spike, I then added again right here. So I locked in gains, which was brought me down lower. And then I think I added another 13 Bitcoin, which brought me up to about 27 Bitcoin short, which is about $654,000 short, looking for that big liquidation event to the downside if we broke down below this bearish flag. But that didn't happen. Right after this has created a bear trap to the downside, spiked back above this descending resistance, which could potentially have been a bullish flag breakout to the upside, which was basically this move right here. When you look at that, you could potentially look at this as a bull flag within the actual bullish trend that was continually going up. And at that point, I was like, fuck, if this is a bull flag that breaks to the upside after this bear flag just failed me to the downside, I don't want to get stuck in the position where at this point I was up maybe $30,000 unrealized that I hadn't locked in. I didn't want to risk it. Unfortunately, I stopped out at the fucking top right here and gave back a bunch of my profits after adding 13 Bitcoin short right here, looking for that washout to the downside, and then stopped out right there. And then I actually longed Ethereum as well, just in case we did see that breakout to the upside. Because if we look at the Ethereum chart, Ethereum was actually looking quite bullish right here. Still holding up the trend, still holding right at the 50-day moving average, big spike to the upside, which was telling me that we could potentially see a push back above here. If we closed above 1680, that would have been a very bullish sign. If we also broke above this actual descending trend line right here, that would have been a potential bullish flag breakout. And then if we broke it above that and then broke it above this line, that would have been a huge bullish breakout to the upside, which certainly would have pushed this to about $2,000 per coin. So I basically hedged my risk here. I didn't know exactly what was going to happen at this point prior to the Silvergate news coming out that actually used the significant indicator and also the big Binance while selling. There wasn't really any big catalyst that was triggering that move. Without that news, we definitely could have seen a breakout to the upside on top of that, because SPX 500 was down here at this point. While the news came out with Silvergate, we saw a massive spike to the upside on US stocks. And I said this in my Telegram group. I said, listen, guys, we're at support here for SPX 500 as well as US 30. I'm locking in 30% of my shorts. As you can see, I locked in my gains on my short SPX 500 right at these lows here and actually just reshorted again today after this big spike, adding to my shorts. You know, we were coming into support. I locked in 30% of my profits here on SPX. And if we saw that spike to the upside and a bounce, that could have been the catalyst to see Ethereum break out above this level and see that absolute rip to the upside. But we saw the Silvergate news come out, which then led to a big Binance whale selling, which basically decoupled the price action and the correlation of what's going to happen in stocks might be happening in crypto. So the news event basically broke the correlation for that happening. And that's why we saw the big drop in crypto, but at the same time, we saw a big spike in stocks. So that was kind of a big fuckery for me. I was short Ethereum, locked in my gains here. Then I stopped out the rest of my short here and then went long and then actually lost basically maybe like 5 to 6, 7K on this position right here. And now we're continually in a bear flag. So as of right now, if we look at what's going on with my Bitcoin short, I locked in about $30,000 in profits and I have an unrealized gain right now about 17,000 on a position now of only 9.45 Bitcoin as of right now, where I was short 27 Bitcoin with an average of like 24.9 or 24.7 up here, and then just got whipped the fuck around this week and then basically got saved by the Silvergate news right here. Because if that Silvergate news didn't come out, we saw that big huge fucking bounce across the board on SPX 500, US 30 massive bounce, Euro Stocks 50 breaking to all-time new highs of the year. That could have been the catalyst, that bounce that would have triggered the breakout here on Ethereum to the upside. But Silvergate news came out and destroyed the Bitcoin chart, which thankfully for me, I was still pretty heavily short on Bitcoin, locked in more gains as we dipped to the downside. But as of right now, I think we do have more more downside potential on Bitcoin. We are now continuing to form another bear flag as of right now. If we look at what's going on here a little bit closer, we also have 50-day moving average resistance right here. We have the trend X resistance. We also have this descending channel resistance right here. So I'm looking to potentially even re-short Bitcoin if we come into this level right around here. If we look at the Fibonacci retracement between about 38 and 61%, that's also going to be a big confluence area between the trend X. We also have kind of horizontal support from, or horizontal resistance at 22,800 from this previous high here. We have the 50-day moving average sitting here at about 22,972. This bear flag spiking again to the upside here into this resistance level could be the signal that would be another get short level and then bring us all the way back down to this level right here, which could be a potential buying area for a short-term dip buy up here. It also depends what's going to happen here on the US stock market. If we do see another continued pullback, obviously I just got re-short again after we saw the high here at the SPX 500. I shorted up here, locked in 30%, and now I'm getting back in short again here in this range, looking for the next pullback to brand new lows, potentially down to about 3,800 in this level. It'll be interesting to see now that the decoupling is kind of factored in here for SPX 500 in Bitcoin, what actually happens. But as of right now, I'm still short Bitcoin. I think we're going back to lows of about 21,500. That would be the target for the ideal short, potentially adding to the short near 22,800 to upwards of about 23K for the next pullback down to the downside. But anyways, guys, that's the current situation in the markets right now. I think Bitcoin's heading back down to support. Ethereum totally got douchebaggeried here. Failed to break out to the upside, looking for a bear flag on Ethereum for another continued breakdown all the way back down to at least minimum short-term target at about 14.7 to 1500. And eventually, I think we're going to come back down here to about 1280. That's a wrap for today. So let me know what you guys think, if you guys actually traded that weekly death cross and actually made any money. Also, if you learned anything about this, about what I did here in the trading strategy, just to show you that I totally fuck things up sometimes. This should have been like a fucking 150 to 200K profit week. Instead, it was more like 50 to 70K, which I still can't complain. I make mistakes, and that's just the way it goes with trading. The only thing that matters is, can you make mistakes and still have the mental capacity to wake up the next day with enough discipline to make a rational decision to make a good trade going forward. And I will tell you, it's not an easy thing to do. It was an emotional week for me, but I'm glad that I came out on top. Anyways, that's a wrap. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.